Welcome to Inspired Coach Podcast. I am absolutely delighted to be sharing with you today a truly wonderful, creative, luminous coach who is here to talk to us about all things creativity. Let me tell you about her. Our guest today is Briana Kennedy. Briana is a life coach who's all about helping people take charge of their lives and go after what they really want. She keeps things real, fun, and a little bit sassy, which you're about to see, because she believes that growth does not have to be boring. Briana helps her clients cut through self-doubt and overwhelm so they can tap into their strengths, build confidence, and create real, lasting change. Whether you're chasing a big dream or just trying to figure out your next step, Briana supports clients with practical tools, honest conversations, and plenty of encouragement to move you forward. And you can find her at, it's all in our notes here, but marniecoaching.com. That's Marnie spelled MARNIIE coaching.com. I also want to add in, because this is very, very important for today's episode, that Briana has a very special and incredible interest in the area of creativity. She is a creative herself, a very successful business creative, which existed for her a long time before she trained to become a coach. And that is actually the focus of our conversation today. What creativity really is and can be for us, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and space holders and business owners as well. And Briana presents this to us in the most easeful, graceful way that helps inspire us as well about creative pursuits in our life and just being a creative human being, of which we all absolutely are. And the thing that I appreciate about her and this episode so much is about how she helps us to see how creativity and tapping more into our creative side, of which we all have, is something that can help us be better coaches and better business owners as well. Briana Kennedy, hello and welcome to you. You are on Inspired Coach Podcast.
Hello, Julie. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today as well, because first of all, I know that it's something that you're very passionate about. Mm-hmm. And I love talking to anybody who's passionate about anything, really. I don't care whether it's chickens or coaching or dahlia farming or whatever it may be. Talking to people who are passionate about something is always such a gorgeous and wonderful thing to do. And I also know that this is going to be a topic in this expert interview that is going to be really eye-opening and heart-opening and helpful to the coaches who listen to this show, and also those who are thinking about becoming a coach as well. And that topic is about the importance of creativity as a coach. And I'd love to just ask you to begin with, how has creativity, just even in your general life, Briana, become something that's so central to you and your being?
Thank you, Julie. Yeah, that's a really important question for me, because everything I do centers around creativity. Ever since I was a child, I have been playing mud pies or building forts or using my imagination just to create my own little world. And that ended up turning into also a business for me down the track, where I was making jewelry. And now it has come into my coaching, where I can help other creatives and people move through their creativity and get through their blocks.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to be talking about that more. But I want to go back to this little girl and jewelry. Because I'm thinking to myself, I remember making jewelry as a little girl, and that just sounds like almost every little girl or many little girls' dream to
Yes.
then take that and make a jewelry business out of it, like
Mm-hmm.
to get someone to pay you money for your jewelry. Sounds absolutely glorious. And so I want to talk about that transition that you've made from a jewelry business into a coaching business. But before we do that, I'd love to get your further insights on the fact that it seems like, and I don't think this is me going out on too much of a limb, but you can bring me back off it if you think I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like creativity is something that we wildly encourage in children, and we want to see them develop and have fun with and expand with. But we don't necessarily really carry that perspective into it being important for us as adults.
Yeah.
Right? Have you got some thoughts on this?
Oh, 100%. We seem to be now spending adulthood trying to rediscover what we loved as being like when we were a child. And we forget that we still have the right to play and to enjoy and to create. And for some reason, as adults, we stop ourselves because we think that everything we do needs an outcome. It needs to be monetized. It needs to be of value. And we forget how big a value our creativity actually is. There's such a big, how would I put it? There's just this big block where we just think there has to be this outcome for us to be creative, or we just think we aren't creative anymore and we just lose it and we just push it to the side and forget about it when we really need to draw it back in.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that what you're saying there is absolutely true. And I think that it's something that is not just related to creativity, but many things, in fact, that as adults, we become so concerned about productivity and outcome and end result. And of course, we know, or at least if we don't, everyone explore this a little bit further for yourself. This is the result of us all swimming in a very capitalistic world.
100%.
Because capitalism is not just about the output of money and related to money. It is connected, deeply connected to productivity and what that means. And the messages that we get sent all the time, well, what's it for? It needs to be productive. It needs to be all these things. But creativity has its own special place, doesn't it? As a form of productivity, but not necessarily one that may have the outcome that a capitalistic lens may present to us.
Yeah, I think that we forget how important it is to nurture our own inner world. So creativity to me is the ability to turn our inner thoughts and our inner feelings and make it a tangible thing. So instead of keeping it within ourselves, we actually let it out into the world and we actually share it with others. And we forget that we can actually have this ability to play and share what we love and bring joy to other people by doing it.
What a beautiful definition that is. I absolutely love that. And so let's talk a little bit more about that within the context of coaching. And I'd love to hear your thoughts because there's kind of two arms to this. Like I think, and you're an amazing life and business coach who clearly has a very strong creativity aspect to everything that you do. So the two aspects I'm thinking about are actual coaching for coaches and also their business. So let's talk about actual coaching first. How do you bring in creativity to the coaching that you do? And that might not necessarily be like live with a client, although it could be, but just how do you allow your creativity to inform the coaching that you do with your clients?
So when I'm working with clients, I always ask them to think about the perfect ideal inner world that they have that they want to achieve. And I get them to create this world as if it was already happening, and I get them to play with ideas. So I ask them, you know, if it was, if this was your perfect day and that goal was that outcome, what would you want to see? How would you want to feel? And sometimes we draw our perfect day and what we would see, what we would smell, what we would hear. Sometimes it's journaling. Journaling really helps clients, and I've come up with a little creative way that I saw somebody else doing, but I've kind of manipulated it a little bit, where people they're worried about the outcome of their journaling, or some of them get in their head about how neat their writing is or what they're writing down. And it's called scribble journaling. And it's just scribbling a line down as you think of it. There's no actual words going on, but it's just a way to put pen to paper, to make something tangible, to be able to physically express yourself and get those thoughts, feelings, goals out of your head to actually be able to move forward.
I love that. That's so fantastic. And I also think that this brings up, Briana, a really important perspective when it comes to our clients, in that the way that is quote unquote best for someone to express themselves is as infinite as the human experience. Like, not everyone is going to best express themselves by typing into a document.
Yep.
Some people will, but not everyone. And I imagine that there are other options for this as well, like dancing,
Yep.
or painting,
Yes.
or building something, or crafting something in some way. There's just infinite possibilities here, and it's really about being open to these things, isn't it?
It is. People don't realize that. I know for you, you love gardening. And that is a
Yes.
wonderful expression of creativity. And people just think that it's painting or it's crochet, or there are so many different ways that you can actually express yourself without thinking that you have to be an artist. Creativity is just turning our thoughts and our innermost world and expressing it as a physical, tangible item.
Mm. Oh, I've just gone off into garden world. I'm wistfully looking away in the distance there, Briana, because you're so right. One of my core values in life is beauty. And gardening is a way for me to tangibly bring that to life. Now, I didn't start a garden because my brain said to me, you need to find a physically tangible way to express your value of beauty. But when we allow ourselves to be driven by our inner values as expressions of ourselves in the world, we can find lots and lots of different ways to do that. And I think that creatively doing so is a way to keep them sparked and alive, because creativity is something that's infinite, isn't it?
It is. And since man has been here on earth, we have been communicating with each other with creativity. You know, we wouldn't have half of history if people weren't creative and sharing beautiful frescoes on walls or telling stories. And we've lost its importance in life, I think.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because I agree with you. Like, even hearing you say the word story, hearing that, and storytelling. Oration and storytelling is an art form,
Hmm.
And when I think about that in regards to coaching, storytelling is something that can be used with such power in coaching in so many different ways, particularly for clients who, and I know you're very passionate about mindset as well, telling themselves stories or
Hmm.
attaching themselves to stories about themselves that are harmful.
Yes.
And while they may have some elements of truth and past experience to them, are not necessarily the way they're processing them or thinking about them helpful in moving them forward.
Hmm.
So I'd love to ask you with that, with creativity and storytelling, is that something that you also do with your clients to creatively help them reframe the
Hmm.
stories they're telling about themselves? Tell us a little more about that.
So I have a really nice exercise that I like to do with clients, and I get them to write down their thoughts or their feelings or whatever's going on in their mind at the time. And then I like to get them to review what they've written and go, okay, where's the truth in that? Where's the truth in what I have written down? What is the truth? And from that, if there is something that they want to action or they're worried about, the next step is to, right, how can I take action on that? Or is it something that I need to let go of because it is not true?
Mm. Yeah, I love that. It's straightforward and powerful, complex but straightforward.
Yes.
Because these things and paths with our own stories and the way we think about ourselves are not necessarily easy, but
Hmm.
as self responsible adults, we all reach a particular time and decision and crossroad where we have to decide, am I going to carry this forward?
Hmm.
Am I going to let it go? What is its value to me, if anything? And so, yeah, I love that. And it's once again another example of how creative thinking can be just so powerful when working with our clients. Brianna, I want to come back and talk a little bit further about using creativity in a more business focused way as a
Hmm.
coach. But I think we might leave that to the end of
Hmm.
the show. I am fascinated to come back now and ask you a little bit more about you personally. We know that you were a really creative little girl,
Hmm.
and this led into you starting a successful jewelry business. But having a successful jewelry business to now being a creatively focused life and business coach is there's a story.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a leap that has been taken in there. And so I'd love to know more about that. Like, when did Brianna, the jewelry designer, decide, oh, I'd like to be Brianna, the coach?
Well, that was that was just me dipping my toe in something that I've always wanted to do. But I'd never given myself permission to do so. So from making jewelry, I then ended up working with a business partner where we were also selling other people's creative items. And at the beginning, I loved it. And then I started to get quite exhausted and worn down. And that was, there's a lot more to unpack in there, but that was when I actually found out that I was autistic. And in this self discovery, I found the permission to actually start chasing what I really wanted to do, and that was help
Mm,
people. I have always had it in my heart that I love to help people, but I've never actually given myself permission. And the autism diagnosis gave me permission in the way that everything that I had felt was really hard in my life, it actually was. It validated how I actually felt, and that I didn't have to be the version of me that I thought I had to be. And so, in that, a friend of mine actually asked if I would like to come and have a look at something she was doing that day. And it was one of the Beautiful You Coaching Academy's free calls at the time. It was a video call.
Like a masterclass of some
It
kind,
was a
was it?
masterclass, yeah.
Right.
Yes. And she asked me to come along. She said, I think this is right up your alley. And it was. I was hooked. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I have to do. It was just one of those moments where everything just clicks into place and you're like, what have I been doing? Why haven't I seen this sooner?
Oh, that's so delightful. Once
Yes.
again, I'm having a moment, an experience on this podcast talking to one of our beautiful graduates, alumni, members of our community where I don't necessarily know the exact story behind how people find us or how you come to us and what that experience is. So how beautiful. That's absolutely so wonderful to know. And of course, I think also an example of how sometimes we think to ourselves, gosh, I wish that I had been doing this for so many more years or so much longer. I could have started so much sooner. But maybe the possibility is that before you found out about yourself being autistic, that may never, even if you had known about us before then, that possibly you would maybe never have said yes to yourself.
100%. 100%. It wasn't the right time and I needed more life experience to get to a point where I actually trusted myself and gave myself that permission.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the timing of that came through then at the right time
Yeah.
for you, that it landed with you. And so you are someone who has more recently graduated with us, but and are already out there flying and doing different things. Do you have any regrets about
Oh no.
shifting? Okay.
No, no, no,
Tell
no,
us
no.
about that then. So you've gone from
No.
because you're not doing your jewelry design anymore, are
I
you?
am
Or
in
you
the
are?
background. I can't
Oh,
not be creative. So I'm still doing that in the background.
okay. So still using
But
your hands in that creative way.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it got to a point where to make a product and to sell something as a product, it is quite time consuming and you can only make a certain amount. I'm only one person. I'm not a factory and I refuse to be a factory. So making that switch was one because I was very burnt out. And two, I needed to follow my path and I needed to give myself permission to do that. So that is why it went on the back burner and I went, no, I'm going down this path. I'm going to follow what my heart is telling me to do because everything's fallen into place for a reason and I'm going to make the most of this opportunity.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so happy to hear about that. Leaps of faith, they're not necessarily the most easy thing in the world,
No.
but it's beautiful to hear that leap that you made, that transition, that following of your heart is reaping rewards for you. So that's only what you deserve. Thank you for sharing that with us. Briana, let's now return to talking about creativity in relation to the business side of things with coaching, because there's something that's telling me that at least for some people listening right now, they're probably going, yep, 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 yep. I get the let's bring in more creativity with clients and that sort of thing. And that, I want to explore different ways of doing that, of which is infinite, as we know. But that's not just what creativity can bring to our work as coaches. There are ways that we can bring in more creativity to marketing, to promotion, to client attraction.
Yes.
And as somebody that's previously owned a successful business with your jewelry, I know that you have experience in these things. And so I'd love to ask you, how do you think are some of the major ways that instead of just being focused on the numbers, we know they're important, the outcome, that sort of thing, but how can new and emerging coaches harness the power of creativity to expand their business? And I know that's a very big question.
It's a question that I love, though,
Well,
because
that's good.
because firstly, we need to throw the rules out the window. Throw the rules out the window. There are no rules. People think that there's a set way that you do things, a set way you market, a set way you have to be a coach. Throw the rules out the window and focus back on you and yourself and what you value, what you want to bring into the world with your coaching. And that gives you your foundations for how you can share and market what it is you do. I've actually worked with some clients who were really, really stuck in this space. And as soon as I told them that they could play and that they could have fun and that they could just share their own personality, it was like this big sigh of relief. And I had a client, and he was working for like a digital business, and he was selling his ability to help people digitally. But he also had a side business, which was teaching circus. And I said to him, I said, well, that's part of your personality. Bring it in. He goes, I can't do that. And I said, why? Why can't you do that? And he said, oh, because I need to be taken seriously. I'm like, well, if you were going to someone for help, do you want someone that's funny and relatable, or do you want somebody who is, maybe a little bit uptight and stuffy? And he goes, oh, I've never thought of it that way. And I just told him to have a play with it. I said, have a play. And his marketing took off, and he's now well booked because he was just himself.
And this is one of the things that creativity is a portal for.
It is.
Right, okay, because we get out of our logical brain and we start to tap into that side of our brain and being and heart that is free and spontaneous and non-egoic, or it just allows us to bring forth our own versions of fun and play, as you say, and beauty. And when we do those things, we then begin to tap into what I consider to be our soul self, the essence of who we are. And so when we talk about creativity in that way, it's absolutely it's vital.
It is. It is. It's sharing our soul with the world.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. And many people have probably heard me say before that I too, not unlike that client that you were just talking about more than 20 years ago now, though, when I first started out as a coach, really fell hard into the trap of believing that I needed to be just exceptionally corporate and professional in a very buttoned up kind of way, because that is what would see me be taken seriously. And that is what was required for people to think that I was worthy of spending money with. And of course, I was shockingly and stupidly wrong, because that's not the type of person that I am. It's not even the world that I come from, but I fell for it. I fell for it.
As we do.
As we do, right? Because there are messages that get sent to us about different ways we need to be as a human being all the time. And it was only when I started to embrace my more joyous, fun, relaxed, feminine side, intuitive, spiritual, all of those sorts of things, that suddenly, quote unquote, my coaching business really began to expand and take off. Well, who knew?
Yeah. It's funny when you actually trust yourself and express yourself as your true self, how much easier it is.
Yeah, that's right. Like just actually being yourself.
Mm.
Could that actually be the biggest marketing formula of all?
Mm.
Something to think about, folks. Something to think about. Briana, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I know that it will inspire many people to think about creativity from those, as a coach, from those two arms that we've spoken about of coaching with clients and business coaching and their business at a much deeper level. If anything, I think what you've done today, but I'd love your final thoughts on this, is really shown everyone how creativity is the biggest permission slip to be yourself.
It is. It really is. It's just harnessing who you already are and sharing it with the world, because especially the way the world is right now, we need authenticity and we need joy and we need playfulness, because without that, we won't have the energy to keep helping each other, keep holding on to each other and loving each other.
What a beautiful place for us to end today. Briana, thank you so much. Everyone, I cannot encourage you enough to connect. We of course, will have all the details in the episode with this beautiful coach and creative. I'm absolutely delighted to have had you on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julie.